Hello, I'm Ollie and this is CriminOlly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, a vampire mystery set in Alaska. It's my review of The Gathering by CJ Tudor. So today I want to talk about The Gathering by CJ Tudor, an author I've wanted to read for a while. So her first book, The Chalk Man, definitely made a splash when it came out. Stephen King blurbed it very enthusiastically. And The Gathering is a book that a lot of people I respect had praised, so I definitely wanted to give it a try. And the concept of it really sucked me in. So the concept is it's like a genre blend novel of vampire novel and mystery. And it's done very, very well. So the concept here, the kind of vampire part of the story, is that vampires are real, but there aren't very many of them. They are, humanity knows about vampires, and vampires and humans kind of just about manage to live side by side, but vampires are by far in the minority and are discriminated against. So they live on in their own kind of separate colonies apart from humanity. The book is set in Alaska, in a small town in Alaska where there is a vampire colony nearby, and there's been a murder. So a teenage boy in the town has been murdered, and it looks like he was murdered by a vampire. So the vampires in this book are similar to vampires in that they do drink blood, but they drink animal blood rather than human blood. So they've kind of trained themselves to not need human blood. And they are strong, and they are kind of immortal, but they do, and they're also sensitive to sunlight, but they're not able to like change into bats and stuff like that. So it's kind of a slightly more credible version of vampires than you get in some vampire books. So into this mystery comes a detective who's an expert in kind of vampire forensics and anthropology. So this female detective, Barbara, gets sent to the town to investigate alongside the sheriff. So you've got a nice mystery setup here. You've got the kind of fish out of water detective trying to figure out how to act around the townspeople. You've got a great setting. So Alaska is a really interesting setting. And then you've also got real tension between the vampire colony and the townspeople. The two really don't get along. There's a lot of kind of discrimination in particular from the townspeople against the vampires. So Barbara, comes into town and starts investigating this mystery. And as the book progresses, you get really two things that are teased out. So one is the mystery itself, what happened to this teenager, why did he die, who was responsible. But the other part is, as the book progresses, you learn more and more about the vampires and about the history of vampirism and how socially vampires and humans manage to live alongside each other. And I thought that part of the book was really interestingly done. So it's not a book that gives you everything up front. Sometimes with a book like this, you'll have loads of exposition in the first few chapters that really set everything up so you understand exactly how the world works. And I always find that a bit tiresome. It gets in the way of the plot. Whereas in The Gathering, CJ Tudor does a really good job of gradually teasing out those details in such a way that they are, kind of intrinsic to the mystery. Now, in a way, from a mystery, like a mystery novel perspective, that's kind of a bit of a cheat, because there are some things that the reader doesn't know because they don't fully understand the world. And I think if you did know some of those things earlier on in the book, you'd be able to unravel the mystery yourself a bit sooner. But in terms of, how the book actually progresses and the way it's all laid out, it does work quite neatly. And it's certainly an enjoyable novel. It may be a book that mystery purists don't particularly like because of that technique, but I found it to be interesting and well done. There is one thing that CJ Tudor does in this book which I didn't like, which is there are, the vast majority of the chapters are just, Barbara going around investigating. There are individual chapters that happen every so often which are from the perspective of a character. You don't really know who they are. They've been imprisoned. You don't know who they are. You don't know who's imprisoned them. And those chapters end up making sense at the end of the book. But for me, they were unnecessary. I think you could have taken those out of the book, and it wouldn't have suffered for it. In fact, it probably would have been stronger for not having them. I found them to be a bit of a distraction. But generally speaking, as a mystery novel and a thriller in particular, it works really, really well. The setting is good. The cast of characters is good. So Barbara is a fantastic central detective. So she's kind of a middle-aged woman. She's, not particularly physical. She's not like a tough guy detective by any means. But you really root for her because she really cares about what she is doing. And she really cares about getting to, the right resolution for this mystery, solving it in the right way, and getting justice for the murder victim, but also making sure that everyone in the town understands what has happened and why it has happened and can learn from it. So I thought she was a fantastic central character, and the way that the vampirism is described and kind of the history of it and the history of the town itself, which comes out more and more as the book progresses, I thought was really well handled as well. My one, I guess, criticism of the book is it can feel a little bit at times like CJ Tudor has taken appealing different things which feel like they are the ingredients that would make a successful kind of horror crime kind of mash-up type of book, and stuck them together and created this book out of them. But it works. So it almost, at times I felt like there was a danger that it was all going to feel a bit too manufactured, but actually she manages to pull it off, and the final third of the book in particular I thought worked really, really well. It's very tense, it's very gripping, the mystery unravels at just the right pace. The pacing of this book is excellent. It's really, really good. It's not too long, and it's a very satisfying read because of that setting, because of all the characters, and because of the way your understanding of both the mystery and the world gradually grows as the book progresses. It makes for a fun and satisfying read. So I hope you found that interesting. Do let me know in the comments if you've read The Gathering and what you thought of it. And also let me know if you've read any other CJ Tudor books and which ones you'd recommend. Anyway, I will leave it there and say, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.